Hey there, everyone. Joshua Short with you in our newsroom at 11:21 Eastern Time here in South Bend, Indiana. Wherever you're streaming, we appreciate it. We wanted to break in to talk to you a little bit about some information that we've just learned in the last several hours about an Elkhart man who's been exonerated in a case from 1998, a murder case. And we've got a lot more to tell you about involving this, but I want to show you exactly what we're looking at first. You're going to see it here in full. These are pictures of the man in question that we are talking about here. That is Reginald Dillard. He was convicted of murder in 2000 based on a 1998 shooting of Christopher Thomas in Elkhart, Indiana. We're going to tell you a little bit more about that here momentarily, but I wanted you to see these pictures because these pictures are pretty sobering. And wait until you hear a little bit more about the case itself, and you'll see just why that is. Again, we got word of this yesterday from the attorney involved in this, one of the attorneys who our Emma Brott is going to be talking to tonight at 4 o'clock. And he is going to talk a little bit more, not just about the case, but how we got to this point of the appeal before the exoneration took place. Kevin Murphy will be talking one-on-one exclusively with our Emma Brott. That is later on this afternoon. You will see that at 4 o'clock here on WNDU and wherever you stream as well. So I want to get to the meat and potatoes if I can really quickly, just to give you guys some background. This happened in 1998. This, again, was a murder case in Elkhart. I'm going to read to you from our reporting partners the South Bend Tribune article that they've written up that you can see as well in full, along with a gallery, about 19 pictures of the moment, as you just saw here, where he walked out of prison. Reginald Dillard walking out of prison after getting that, what they call in legal parlance, post-conviction relief. This is the article that I would like for you guys to hear, and I'm going to try and read it, if not mostly in full here. Reggie Dillard served 27 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. As he walked out of Elkhart County Correctional Complex, he stood with his shoulders back and his head held high Monday, February 23rd. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. That is a quote Dillard said as he stood outside the jail gate. There was a time when I was the voiceless. Now I have become a voice for the voiceless, and I plan on being that voice. So my past was my past, and I've done wrong, but I've rectified it, educated myself. I grew up, but it'll be all right, Dillard said. The University of Notre Dame's Exoneration Justice Clinic has been working on Dillard's case since the clinic was a few Notre Dame volunteers and an adjunct professor of law. Reggie's case was one of the very first cases the clinic had before we were even a clinic, Notre Dame staff attorney Kevin Murphy said. His case was one of the first cases that laid the foundation for our clinic. Dillard was convicted of murder in 2000 of the 1998 shooting death of Christopher Thomas, a confidential informant of the Elkhart County Drug Task Force. His co-defendant, Eddie Frederick, died in prison. I'm going to stop this here and just give you some more background on this. For those of you who do not know, as a result of that shooting death, we were looking in the archives this morning. We actually discovered that prosecutors actually had to throw out several other cases at the time related to this one shooting because of the fact that Christopher Thomas, the victim in all of this as well, Christopher Thomas was a confidential informant for the Elkhart County Drug Task Force. I want to continue reading here from the Tribune's article. Don't forget one name we cannot forget, and that's Eddie Frederick. He was my co-defendant. He died in prison for something he knew nothing about, Dillard said. I don't know where his son is, but I'm going to find him. During Dillard's and Frederick's trial, a woman reportedly called the Elkhart Police Department informing them they had the wrong guy. That woman told police her partner and his brother did it because Thomas had acted as an informant against them. After she found 3 shell casings in the toilet, she told police they had her dispose of them and parts of a gun into the Elkhart River. That evidence was never disclosed to the defense, despite prosecutors being legally obligated to share that potentially exculpatory evidence with defendants. For those of you who don't know, this is, again, legal parlance. They went against something known as the Brady Rule. They being prosecutors, are supposed to disclose all evidence to the defense, including exculpatory evidence, meaning evidence that could find that defendant not guilty of a crime. So they did not do that. That is one of the reasons, one of the holes in this case here. I'm going to continue reading. Quote, it was pure exculpatory evidence that pointed to other people that I believe were actually involved in this crime and it was just sitting there in the police files. Murphy said, again, that's basically the lead prosecutor involved in this exoneration case. Marshall County prosecutor, a name familiar to many of you, E. Nelson Chipman Jr., was actually appointed special prosecutor to the case, and he agreed and acknowledged that Dillard's constitutional rights were violated, which is a big step for a prosecutor to take, according to Murphy. Chipman petitioned the court to vacate Dillard's conviction. Elkhart County Judge Christopher Spatero actually vacated the conviction at an evidentiary hearing February 19th. Quote, I have been working on Reggie's case for the past 2 years now, and recently had the opportunity at his evidentiary hearing last week to examine one of the witnesses, specifically putting forth the police report that showed evidence that Dillard was not the guy, was not responsible for the murder. Notre Dame law student Andrew Zimlich said. More about the students part of this in just a second from Notre Dame. Despite being wrongfully convicted, Dillard said he doesn't carry bitterness for those who withheld evidence or those who tried to coerce him into confessing against his co-defendant. Quote, I forgave them years ago because I couldn't carry that burden, Dillard said. My mother was a strong woman who taught me not to be that kind of person, so I forgave them years ago. Dillard said his mother died in October before she could see him cleared and freed. That is part of the article our team, along with the South Bend Tribune, broke over the hours here, the last few hours. And obviously, it's a big story that we're following and continue to follow up on. For those of you wondering, I want to give you guys the byline on that story. Again, that was just produced this morning. Julianne Baylog was the one on that one. That byline on a story that is pretty significant. What I want to show you here are more of those pictures from yesterday. The South Bend Tribune, our reporting partners there, as he walked out of that correctional facility for the first time since 2000, when he was convicted for that murder in 1998. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment, 90 seconds, and then after that 90 seconds, I want to give you guys a little bit of a bigger picture about this exoneration clinic, the people who are a part of it, when it started, and then I'm also going to show you some video from that 1998 murder case that we were able to find in our archives, and then look a little bit ahead to 4 o'clock tonight as well. Our team is going to be going a little bit more in-depth, talking to Kevin Murphy more in-depth about this case that he led. He and his team at the clinic at Notre Dame leading this case. And our Emma Broad is going to be on that story as well. Again, that is tonight. You're going to see that on WNDU. We're going to take a 90-second break, and we'll return with a little bit more background on not just the clinic, but the people who are a part of it. All right, everybody, we're back here inside of our WNDU newsroom. I want to just give you guys a little bit of a recap here up front. We're talking about a story where I'm going to dive deeper into tonight at 4 o'clock. An Elkhart man exonerated in a case from 1998. He was convicted in 2000. The man we're talking about at the center of this is Reginald Dillard. He was convicted in the murder of a man. He was sentenced to 65 years in prison. The person who was killed, his name is Christopher Thomas, who was an informant for the county's drug task force at the time. So with that, I want to show you some video here. The video that you're about to see is from that crime scene, and this is that video you're seeing it next to me here from 1998. So this happened, I believe, near or at a hotel motel area. You can see the investigation taking place there next to me at the time. Again, this was in 1998. I can tell you that this case had a lot of attention at the time and now has garnered even more attention. And it is because of an organization, because of a group that has been committed since 2000 at justice, at ensuring justice for people who have been wrongfully convicted of crimes in this state, particularly in our area here in Michiana. In 2020, this group by the name of the Notre Dame Exoneration Clinic, it's the Notre Dame Exoneration Justice Clinic, forgive me, was formed. Since its formation, it has now, including this one, 4 people exonerated. Their list of clients is about 10 people right now that we know of, could be more than that. But at this point, as of today, there are now 4 people you can add on this list of exonerations. I can give you their names: Andrew Royer, Anthony Bedolla, obviously Reginald Dillard, and a woman by the name of Kara Beatty, who we reported on. For those of you who don't remember that case, that one happened several years ago. Beatty's wrongful conviction, that actually stemmed from June of 2020, if I remember correctly. It was a collision between Beatty's vehicle and a motorcyclist. She was 18 at the time. Beatty was charged under a statute because of what was in her blood, a controlled substance at the time. She was charged, even though she had only trace amounts of THC in her blood from marijuana used a full day before this crash. It was later determined that the motorcyclist involved, the motorcyclist who passed away, actually went live on Facebook. And in that Facebook Live, it showed that that motorcyclist was going well beyond the speed limit. I can't remember exactly what the speed limit was, but it was well beyond the speed limit. And at the time, people did not talk about that in the case. In fact, that evidence was never submitted. Part of this exoneration at that case from this group had to do with, again, the Brady rule. Cases that have evidence that is not admitted or ever disclosed to the defense. And so that is something that this group is founded upon, that idea of justice, right? And the Notre Dame Exoneration Justice Clinic is led by several people, including students at the University of Notre Dame. That is the part of the story that I find truly remarkable, because you've got students who are committed to justice, as well as those who lead this program, who've been involved in court cases, trial cases, cases like this one, and the like, for decades. And the experience that they have in conjunction with these new eyes that are upon these cases says a lot about the effort toward justice, not just in our community, but statewide as well. You're going to hear more about that clinic, a little bit more about that clinic and what they've done over the years. Again, this marks the 4th exoneration led by the Notre Dame Exoneration Justice Clinic. That is something that our team has kept eyes on now. We're going to be doing some expansive reporting on that very soon. I will tell you that for sure. As of tonight, we're going to show you these pictures again, and we're going to leave you off with these pictures of Reginald Dillard, convicted of murder in 2000 and a shooting of Christopher Thomas in Elkhart. He's been exonerated for a crime he did not commit. When you look at the online paperwork of the quote-unquote holes in the case presented by this clinic, you will see that they are alarming. And not my words, but the words of those who are part of this Notre Dame Exoneration Justice Clinic potentially shows habit and shows something that is not just this case. It has happened in several other cases, not exclusive to just this one. You look at people like this man who served all that time behind bars and was not in any way connected with the shooting death. But he said it. He does not hold a grudge and says that he made his mistakes, but obviously he will continue now being a voice to the voiceless. It takes a lot of power and strength to do that. Emma Rod is going to have more on that case tonight. We'll have more coverage of this and, of course, obviously the clinic on WNDU continue to keep eyes out for that reporting as well. We will see you start at 4 o'clock. That does it for this stream. We appreciate you watching here as well.